Hey beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to my channel. I have a very exciting video because look what came in the mail. I know I talk real smack about Pat McGrath and her releases, especially this new Bridgerton collection, but you guys already know no matter how much shit I talk about Patricia, I will buy her products and I will review them. So here we go. Before we dive in, if this is your first time joining me, hi, welcome. I am Jamila and I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup, I love all things skincare, and I especially love sharing my tips and tricks for how to find high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. If that sounds like something you're interested in, I would absolutely love if you would consider subscribing and joining the family. Alright, my lips look a little dry. So as you guys saw, today we're going to do a first impressions video on the Pat McGrath Belle of the Ball Bridgerton palette. This is the second release from Pat McGrath under this sort of Bridgerton collab. And what we're going to do, my typical, first impressions review, I'm going to give you all the product details, some live swatches. I'm also going to insert some comparisons as well because I do think that every single one of these shades is dupeable. And then I'm just going to do one quick look. So product details. So like I said, this is the second installment from the Pat McGrath and Bridgerton collection. I only picked up the palette, but the collection also includes a face palette, which has 3 blushes and a highlighter. I do believe that they are a new formula for Pat, but honestly, it looked a little cheap. It looked like really poor quality, so I knew I wasn't going to pick it up, especially not at $60. Definitely not at full price. In addition to the face palette, there is also 2 body shimmers that I also knew that I wasn't going to pick up because it's not necessarily a product that I use, so I wasn't going to get enough use out of it to make me feel like I needed to pick it up. And then she released a lip collection. I am unsure if the lip shades in that collection are existing shades in this new packaging or if they're actual new shades. Either way, I'm not super fond of the Pat McGrath lipstick formula. It's not bad by any means, but it's not one that I reach for, so I didn't want to pick those up either. So all I did was I grabbed the palette. So this palette retails for $65. It is currently available on the Pat McGrath website. It will be available at Sephora April 22nd if you want to pick it up there. I feel like they intentionally put it after the VIB sale, but whatever. So here we have the new palette. It is in this pink packaging, and this is the original palette. You'll realize that the packaging is pretty much identical. It's just one is blue, one is pink. This one has like a little bow. This one looks like a crown. The backs are pretty much the same. So it is complete cardboard. What I'm a little bit disappointed by with the Bridgerton palettes is that it definitely is a lot less luxe than Mama Pat's typical packaging, because usually you get that very opulent feel. You get some black lacquered in there. This is all cardboard, so it's definitely on the cheaper side, but it does have some of her special shades, so we will let this one slide. On the back of the palette here, we have all of the shade names as well as the product details. This palette, like the previous one, was made in Italy, and it does have an 18-month shelf life. So let's open this baby up so you guys can see all of the shades. So here we have the Belle of the Ball palette. I will say there's a little quote here that says "flawless, my dear." You do get a mirror. It's a nice size mirror. Seems like decent quality, but these are all of the shades here. Personally, I felt like these shades were definitely more exciting than the first release, but again, all of these shades are dupeable. And just for reference, here are the 2 palettes side by side, actually. Here we go. Here are the 2 palettes together. You'll see that they definitely lean very pink. In the first one, we got this really nice, I think it's called Regency Blue Astral shade. And in this one, you'll see we get that really nice gold green shade. But overall, both of these palettes still tend to lean quite pink. Also, similar to the first one, we still do get the embossing in these 3 shades. We have 2 bees and then this little like female, I guess this like female portrait picture. So it's a pink palette. We knew it was going to be a pink palette, so just we accept that fate. What I do appreciate though is that we do get this really nice gold green shade, and then we have this blue shade, so it does kind of break up the pink a little bit. But I honestly think that these 2 matte shades look similar, if not identical, to the 2 mattes in the original palette. But let's check that out. Let's dive into some swatches. And I'm just going to swatch the 4 regular shades first and then swatch her 2 special shades. So first up we have Refinement. This is a luminous pale rose gold. Then we have Regency Romance. This is a peony pink satin matte. We have Forbidden Armoire, Velvety Plum Matte, Daring Dandy, Pastel Aqua Metallic Shimmer. So these are the first 4 shades. And here we have the 2 special shades. First we have Diamond's Desire, which is a golden beige diamond sparkle astral shade. And then Forever Charmed, which is a deepened chartreuse sparkle astral. Ooh, that is stunning. Okay, so here we have the Pat McGrath Belle of the Ball palette swatched completely on my arm. Again, it's nothing special, nothing to write home about, but let's do some quick comparison swatches. So first, I want to start with Regency Romance from the new palette and compare that to Art of the Swoon from the first palette. Okay, you can see that Regency Romance, which is from the new palette, is definitely more of a fuchsia pink. Art of the Swoon is a little bit more lighter. I wouldn't call it pastel, but they're 2 very different shades. They both have that satin matte formula, so it's not super pigmented. But yeah, you can see this one is definitely a little bit richer. This one is a little bit lighter, but honestly, I don't think it's that big of a difference. Next, let's swatch Forbidden Armoire, which is this really nice plum shade here. And let's swatch it against Plum Regalia. These shades are almost identical. Like, almost. Let's swatch this down here. I feel like this one's definitely a little bit more cool toned, and this is from the original palette. The one from the new palette has a little bit more purple plumness to it. I also realized that I didn't spot this one. It's called Love Match, and this is in the original palette, and I think that that could also be a really nice comparison shade to these first 2. So I'm gonna swatch that here. Okay, that is definitely richer, but you can see the similarity in these 3 shades. Okay, next let's swatch Daring Dandy, which is the blue shade in the new palette. And we're gonna swatch that against Regency Blue in the old palette. Obviously, these are not gonna be the same. Regency Blue is an astral shade, but I figured let's just swatch both anyway. So you can clearly see the difference in texture from Regency Blue already. Yep, I mean, these are definitely not similar, but can you imagine topping Regency Blue on top of this blue shade? Oh, it would be stunning. Okay, and then lastly, let's compare the star of this show in this palette. Forever Charmed, which is that gold green shade. We're gonna compare that to Gigabyte in the Mothership Subversive. These should be quite similar because they're both astral shades. Or maybe identical. We'll see. And then I also want to compare that to Megabyte from the Mothership Mega Celestial Divinity. Okay, so here we have the new shade from the Belle of the Ball palette. This is Gigabyte, this is Megabyte. They are all quite similar. So very similar. Okay, so here we have Forever Charmed, Gigabyte, and Megabyte. Now, Forever Charmed and Gigabyte are looking hella identical. They're not the same though. There's such a slight, subtle difference that it almost feels like an insult. But you don't need these 2. They're pretty much the same shade. Megabyte is clearly different because it is a different formulation and everything. But Forever Charmed and Gigabyte are almost identical. The main difference that I'm seeing between Forever Charmed and Gigabyte is that Gigabyte has a little bit more of a black base to it, whereas Gigabyte does not seem to have that strong of a black base. And I want to do another quick swatch for you guys. Okay, so here we have Forever Charmed, here we have Gigabyte. And I want to swatch it on this side of my arm so you can see it a little bit better. But here's Forever Charmed. And I want to blend that out a little bit. And here's Gigabyte. And I also want to blend this out a little bit. And this one definitely has like a stronger black base to it that I feel like you can really see when you blend it out. And this one definitely is, it stays a little bit more golden. We've been duped. We've been duped. Okay, so those are all of the swatches and comparisons. I'm gonna wipe this off and we're just gonna do one quick eye look and then I'll come back and give you guys my first impressions, thoughts on this palette. Okay, first things first, I'm gonna go in with the shade Regency Romance and use that as my transition shade in the crease. And I specifically did not lay down or do my face first because I knew that I wanted to play with the special shades in this palette, and if you worked with Pat's special shades before, you know that fallout is guaranteed. So it is definitely best to do your base or your face makeup after you do your eyes, because honestly those special shades, once they fall on your face, it's kind of hard to get up. So it's not like shimmers where you can just easily dust them away. So true to form, this shadow is, you know, picking up and blending really nicely. Mama Pat does make some really nice mattes that just blend themselves, and it's amazing. I do wish we had more neutral / brown leaning mattes in this palette though. I feel like because she gave us pinks in the first one, we gotta get some browns. I'm just, you know, what is her aversion to brown or green or blue? La la la. Next, I'm gonna go into Forbidden Armoire, which is that deep matte plum shade. And I'm using that as a outer corner color to deepen things up. And I want to just say, with this shade, or these two matte shades specifically, even though I only swatched and did comparisons to the first Pat McGrath and Bridgerton collab, we have seen these shades a dime a dozen in her other palettes. So these aren't special matte shades. That's what I'm saying, is that basically I could have pulled out pretty much any mothership, any quad, and chances are I would have found a dupe for these matte shades. I want my Romeo. Yeah, I want something classic. Okay, next I'm gonna go into Star of the Show Forever Charmed, and I'm gonna use that as my center lid shade, and I'm gonna pick that up with my finger just to reduce the potential fallout or the amount of fallout. If you want to intensify this, you could wet your brush, or you can go in with some Mayron mixing liquid or her intensifies eye pen thing that she released with Utopian Dream. But I just want to see how this performs on its own without any extra zhuzhing. It's actually going on pretty well, and I have like minimal fallout. And I'm more for something carefree. Power drink, have a seat next to me. Now you could obviously use this as just like the one lid shade and apply it entirely all over the lid, but because this is a first impressions and I'm gonna try to you know, use as much shades as possible, I'm gonna go in with the second astral shade, Diamond's Desire, and put that into the inner third of the eye. I'm also gonna use my finger to pick that up. This one definitely has a more chunky texture than the Forever Charm shade. So this one will likely have more fallout because it is a little bit more chunky than the first one. And I'm just gonna try to stamp that into the inner part of the eye. That would also make a really nice inner corner highlight. And I could see this as like, if you just wanted to lay down the two matte shades on your lid and pop this over it, like in the center, this would be really, really pretty. I feel like I'm already seeing way more looks with this palette than with the first one, which I appreciate. Okay, we have some sparkly goodness going on the eyes. I'm just gonna go back in now. I like to go back in with my brushes and clean up, you know, where I applied things with my finger, make sure everything is blended really nicely together, make sure that the mattes are showing through at the appropriate level that I want it to. So I'm just gonna go back in, just start blending and brushing and cleaning everything up. Okay, so this is what the eyes are looking like right now. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a ton of fallout. All of this I 100% predicted because like I said, when you're working with Pat's astral shades, you tend to get a lot of fallout. So I'm just gonna go in with a wipe, clean that up, add some liner and some mascara, finish up the rest of my face, and I'll come back and give you guys my final first impressions thoughts. And I have thoughts.
Get to know me, tapping into that good energy. And I'm more for something carefree. Pour a drink, have a seat next to me. Yeah. Touching my skin, got us both wanting more. Breath on my neck, got my clothes all over the floor. Why can't we just start the plan? No more holding back. Done with waiting, got me feeling like a queen. Like your lady when you love me like that, like that, like that. Yeah, baby, can you stop hesitating? No more.
Okay guys, so this is pretty much the final look. So let's talk about this palette. So I said this in my original video, I'm triggered, when I talked about the Pat McGrath sale. I also talked about this new release, and I said this in the original video, that this palette, this collection, is not geared towards Pat McGrath supporters. I truly believe that this was created with Bridgerton supporters and Bridgerton fans in mind, because it just doesn't make sense that this was created for her consumer base, because every single shade in this palette is completely 100% replicable. We've been asking for, you know, less pinks. We want more colorful shades. We want a little bit more diversity in her collection. And I don't think that this palette gave it to us, but I also don't think that she created this palette with her main consumer base in mind. Now, when I think about Pat McGrath as a brand, it is a massive, you know, luxury brand that a lot of people are very much aware of. But I also do think that there's an entire market that purchases makeup that has no idea who Pat McGrath is, has never seen her products, have never tried her products. And part of that is because while her products are absolutely beautiful, they're not the most easily accessible unless you are able to buy it from Pat's website, or unless you are lucky enough to live where there is a Pat McGrath store, you may have never seen a Pat McGrath palette in your life. And I know that it is available on the Sephora website, but to be quite frank, there are very few stores that carry Pat McGrath in store. I have 3 Sephoras within like an hour from me, and I've only seen Pat McGrath products in one of them. And by Pat McGrath products, I mean I've only seen the Utopian Dream and Mothership Mega Celestial Odyssey palette in store. And I actually went to the Sephora where I had seen it in store a couple of weeks ago, I'd say like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that Pat McGrath display was gone. So it's not a product that you can walk into store and accidentally like fall in love with because you see it. You know, unlike these other brands like Too Faced or Urban Decay, like you can walk into a store, see the products, think it's kind of cute, swatch it, play with it, and then decide, okay, I want to purchase it. Because there's an entire consumer base that just doesn't live on YouTube. They are not watching videos. They are literally the ones that are going to stumble into a Sephora, stumble into an Ulta, and purchase products that way. So I really think that this collection with Bridgerton was designed for, you know, consumers that don't follow Pat, aren't big on her collection, to get a taste of Pat McGrath. And the more I thought about this product and the more I think about this palette, the more it makes me feel like that is true, because this palette gives you everything you need for a taste of Pat McGrath. It gives you her standard matte shades, which are absolutely fabulous. Like you get a satin matte and then you get a regular matte. Then you get 2 of her shimmers, which are also quite beautiful. You know, Pat McGrath standard shimmers, you can blend them out as matte shades. They give like a nice kind of metallic look, but not too much that you can't use them as matte shades. But then the interesting and I think most important piece about this is you get 2 of her astral shades. You know, if you shop Pat McGrath, that her astral shades are pretty much reserved for her big mothership palettes, which retail for $125. So, you know, creating a palette that has 2 astral shades and selling it at $65 gives people the opportunity to try out her special formula, decide if they like the formula, and then go ahead and purchase one of her bigger palettes. And, you know, I've complained about the packaging for this being cheap, but I feel less bad about the cheap packaging knowing that there are 2 astral shades in this palette. You know, I am willing to forego the luxury of the lacquered packaging, the, you know, heavier, more weighty, more luxe feeling packaging if I'm getting 2 astral shades, because where Pat stands out in my mind is in her special shades, which are her Blitz Astral formula. And this is really the first time that we've seen Pat make that Blitz Astral formula accessible. Like we've seen her do it in her quads from a couple of years back, but those were 4 shades for $65, and it didn't give you the full taste of what it is to have every single one of Pat's formulas in one palette. And I do think that this does give you that. So if you are not used to buying Pat McGrath, if you are new to the formula, this is honestly a very good entry to understanding what it is you're going to get and why people love and rave and covet her shadows so much. Now, let's talk about the overall quality. Splendid. Perfection. Honestly, Pat, in my opinion, never really gives us dud shadows. Like, you can come for her color stories, you can rant and rave about the fact that all she does is gives us pinks, but at the end of the day, her quality is always there, and it is here with this palette. Like, it's a hella pink palette, obviously, but when you think about the quality of the shadows, the mattes blend like butter, the shimmers shim like you need them to, and the astral shades are just perfection, you know? It is her stunning top tier quality formula, and I didn't experience any duds whatsoever in this palette. Let's talk about specific shades, right? And I really want to talk about the Forever Charmed Astral shade. In the intro, you'll see that I point out that this is similar to Gigabyte, but not the exact same shade. And to be honest, I want to walk that statement back. I feel like while I was doing my makeup and while I was finishing up the rest of my face, I actually swatched these 2 shadows again, and I just kind of stared at it. And they are not exact, but the difference between these 2 shades are probably less than 0.5%. And because that difference is so minuscule, I'm going to say that it's the exact same shade. I'm going to say that Forever Charmed and Gigabyte are the exact same shade. Gigabyte has like the slightest touch of just a little bit more black in the base, which means that when you kind of rub it out, you can see the black a little bit stronger. But it, like, somebody would have to be up in your eyeball to understand that those are not the same two shades. Even when I had them swatched on my hand, because I kept looking at it, I was like, you have to be way too close in my personal space for you to even consider that those are two different shades. And one day I might do like a look using Gigabyte and Forever Charm, so you could really see that it is impossible to tell the difference when this is on the eyes. And because of that, I am going to say that they're the exact same shade. So if you have Gigabyte, if you have the Subversive Mothership, I don't think that you need this if you were buying this specifically for that gold green shade. The other slight difference that I saw in that gold green shade is that this one seems to have a little bit more gold to it, so it's a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more yellow, but again, it is so minuscule. Like, you have to be way too close in my personal space to recognize the difference. So I am just gonna like chalk it up to that as the exact same shade, and you don't need both if you have Subversive. The second astral shade in this palette, Diamond's Desire, is also a shade that, even though I didn't do exact comparisons for, I honestly think that you can find this in the existing Mothership lineup. It's a pink-based astral shade that has very, very chunky flecks, and Mama Pat has so many pinks, whether it be in her matte formula, her standard shimmer formula, or in her Blitz Astral formula, that there is no way that this is not replicable or this is not a dupe for something that already exists. So in the entirety, this entire palette is dupable within Pat's collection itself. So if you already have her palettes and you're wondering, do you need this? You definitely don't need this. If you are a little bit of a collector like myself, which I could admit, I could understand why you would want to get this. Overall, I do like this palette way more than the original. When I did my review for the original palette, which I will link for you guys in the cards and down below, I said that that palette was a one-trick pony. You were either going to get a pink look or a blue look with some pink flecks. It was going to be pink and blue smushed together. And while this does not give you that much more versatility, I do think that it is more versatile than the original palette. Because in here, you get pink, you get blue, and you get this gold green shade. And you can do, in my opinion, a lot more combinations with the shadows provided here. I would have preferred if these two matte shades were definitely more brown leaning, more neutral leaning. The fact that they're still in that pink realm, I think is a little bit unfortunate, because it means that you have to get a pinkish look, because your transition shade and your deepening shade, the only mattes in the palette, are going to be pink based. And I think that's a little bit unfortunate. I think there was this missed opportunity to give us more browns, to give us more neutral shades, because we already got the pinks in the first palette. This could also have been a very intentional move, because like I said, I think that this was catered so much towards Bridgerton fans. You know, everything from the timing of this coming out to the fact that everything in here is replicable. I feel like that may have been an intentional move not to give us, you know, the standard browns, but I would have preferred more browns. Am I mad that I picked up this palette? Honestly, no. I'm less mad that I picked up this than me picking up the first one. Even though that first one has a blue Blitz shade in there, which I think is unique because we don't get a ton of blues from Pat, I like this one more. Even knowing good and well that I have all of these shades in my collection, I feel like this is one that I would be comfortable traveling with. It's one that I will use a lot more frequently instead of having to reach into my big Mothership for the Gigabyte shade. I do think that I'll get a ton of use out of it. And I love the look that I came up with. Like, I have never actually put on Pat's shadows and been super disappointed with the way my makeup turned out. So I am not mad that I picked this up. I totally understand if you don't want to pick it up, if you have Pat's shadows. So I see both sides. As for the rest of the collection, I do want to get the face palette, but I'm not paying full price for that. I am sure as hell not paying $60 for some cardboard and for some blush and a highlighter. I'm gonna need that to be on one of her sales before I even bring that into my collection. And as for her lips, could care less. Like I said, I am not super fond of her lipstick formula. And it's not bad. Please don't, you know, misconstrue my words. Her lipstick formula is actually quite great. There are just other lipstick formulas that I prefer. And when it comes to lips, I like to be comfortable. So for me, I'm gonna stick with the formula that I find most comfortable. and that's not necessarily packed. I wouldn't even put him like my top 5. Top 10, yeah, maybe, but definitely not my top 5. But it's not a bad formula. So if you like her lipstick formula, I say go for it. If these are repeat shades that are just in this Bridgerton packaging, you could skip that, because colorful or different packaging means absolutely nothing. Anyways, I hope you guys like this first impressions video. I always enjoy when Patricia gives us new eyeshadow. I love Pat McGrath. I'm in some ways a little bit biased because it is my favorite eyeshadow brand. It is a formula that I am absolutely in love with. So there's a little bit of bias there, but I'm giving you guys my raw, honest thoughts on the quality of her makeup. This is, I don't get no PR or nothing. This is literally just my pure, honest thoughts about a brand that I love. If you did like this video and you thought that it was helpful, I would absolutely love if you would hit that, like button. If you have not already done so, please go ahead and subscribe. Like I said, on this channel, I like to talk about ways in which you can get these high-end and luxury beauty products for reduced prices, because we need to save all the coins we can. Leave a comment down below letting me know if you picked up this palette, if you were interested in picking it up, if you plan on picking it up now that you've seen my review, anything that y'all want to say about this, or let me know about the new Bridgerton, season. Have you watched the new season? I have thoughts. Maybe I'll do a separate video on that. Okay, I'm rambling a little bit now. Anyways, like I always say, like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend to share with a friend if you think that they will like the content. As always, I love you guys so very much. Thank you for rocking with me. We are at 1,000 subscribers and I am still reeling a little bit from that. Like, this has been like a huge goal of mine, so thank you so much for getting me to 1,000 subscribers. There will be a giveaway coming soon. I just need to figure some stuff out. But as always, thank you guys, love you guys, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye.